Greetings once again. Welcome back to the channel. We're still in our eschatology series, but we're on a different subject. We are in part 5. We've been talking about the last judgment. This is the third part of the last judgment. Today, we're going to be talking about none can stand without the righteousness of God and divine grace at the last judgment. So let's get straight into today's teaching. Part C3, none can stand without the righteousness of God and divine grace at the last judgment. Let's get into our scriptures. Psalms 103, verse 3. If thou, Lord, shouldest mark iniquities, O Lord, who shall stand? Okay. Psalms 143 and 2. And enter not into the judgment with thy servant, for in thy sight shall no man living be justified. This is the case. This is the situation that we're in without the righteousness of God and without divine grace. No one will be able to stand before God's perfect standard and be justified because none of us, all have sinned and fallen short, all except Christ. We need to get a hold of this. Let's continue. Let's look at Romans 3:19 through 23. Now we know that what things soever the law said, it said to them who what are under the law. We're talking about the Mosaic law that was given on Mount Sinai in the Old Testament, that every mouth may be stopped and all the world may become guilty before God. This is the situation under the law, under the Mosaic law. All will be found guilty because all through the Old Testament, no one could keep the law. Right? Got it? So the whole world will be found guilty under the law. Right? Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. Through the works of the law, no flesh, get it, no flesh will be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. We've taught on this. The law reveals to you that you're a sinner. It's a diagnostic tool. That's how you learn you're a sinner. It diagnoses the disease of sin, but it does not fix the disease. Therefore, you cannot be justified through it, and you cannot be declared righteous through it. All right? Now, let's look at righteousness. But now the righteousness of God without the law is what manifests being witnessed by the law and the prophets. So, when Jesus went up on the high mountain and was transfigured, he talked to who? He talked to Moses and Elijah. All right. Moses represented what? The law, and Elijah represented the prophets. Both the law and the prophet pointed toward Christ. All right. Even the righteousness of God, how is it? Is by what? Faith of Jesus Christ unto all and upon all them that believe. So believing on Christ is the way you get righteousness. Believing on Yeshua, God's Son, is the way you get righteousness on you. For there is no difference, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So let's look at a couple of scriptures as key principles here today. 2 Corinthians 5:21. For he had made him to be sin for us. He made Christ, Yeshua, his son, to be sin for us. What a gracious offer. Okay? He made him to be sin for us, but he knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. This is the great exchange that took place. He put our sins on Christ on the cross. We receive Christ's righteousness. All right? You need to understand the power of the blood of Christ, what it does for you. Being in a blood covenant with Christ, you need to understand what it does for us. Because without that shed blood on that cross, we have no righteousness on our own. In the book of Isaiah, he tells us our righteousness is like a filthy rag before God. It's no good. Filthy rag before a holy God, not going to work. So we need Christ's righteousness, the righteousness of God. All right? Now, here's the grace. The grace part comes because he was so gracious to give his only begotten son for us who otherwise would be fully guilty. Look at John 1:16 and 17. And of his fullness have all we receive what? Grace for grace. All right? I like to, when I see the word grace, I like to use this God's righteousness at Christ's expense. That's how I think about grace. God's righteousness at Christ's expense. That's grace to me. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. What a blessing, my friend. Grace and truth by Yeshua, the Messiah. I want to thank you for your time this morning, my friends. Continue to walk in the blessings of the Lord by walking in truth. God bless you till we have another opportunity to bring you another word.